Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, and today's video will be doing a review and how to play video on Hoplomachus Remastered, the board game, so let's get into it. Alright, so now that we've got the game out, I wanted to jump into a bit on how you play the game, and then I'll jump into my review after that. Now, the cool thing about Hoplomachus Remastered is that there is a bunch of different game modes. They all really center around arena combat. And one of the game modes, for example, is like a skirmish mode where players will be playing against each other. It's kind of a new addition to this remastered version of the game, adds in some multiplayer elements to it. But then there's also modes where you're taking on immortal characters, as they're called. And so it's kind of a several wave after wave of enemies facing off against them, trying to defeat a bunch in a row. That version can be played either co-op or solo. This mode I'm going to showcase here is called the Ascension mode. Again, this can be played solo or cooperative, and you'll be taking on various titans, kind of ultimate enemy monsters. And this takes place in arena combat as well. And there's also more of a pandemonium free-for-all style mode for 3 to 4 players, and you're really trying to be the last player standing in that instance. And so again, I won't dive into every single one of those modes, but wanted to showcase the mode here of the Ascension mode where you're taking on various titans. And so to start off this one, you just choose from whatever titan you're going to face off against. Again, there's a bunch of them to choose from. They all kind of have their own unique play style and abilities. This is that Immortals mode, so that wouldn't be in this version, but you'll choose from one of these titans. In this case, I'm going to choose the Monkey King. And so it highlights a bit more about the setup of the arena for the Monkey King. In this case, we have our shards starting with 4 HP. And so how shards work, they will vary by titan to titan, but they are placed on these pedestal areas. There's kind of 2 sides to them, in inactive and active mode. They all start in active at this time. And as the Monkey King card said, they all have 4 HP. The enemy will have blue chips representing their HP, and then your team will use red chips to represent your HP. So make sure you find the specific Titan chip representing the one you're facing off against. Again, in this case, I'm doing the Monkey King. I can set this off to the side here. Other modes will have a bunch of enemy units that might spawn, but in this case, you're just starting with the Titan of the Monkey King, and then it'll come to setting up your end of the mat. And so you want to use the Colosseum side of the mat for this Ascension mode of the game. This is double-sided. There's another arena on the other side, but again, use the Colosseum side in this case. Other steps to set up, you'll take these neutral chips for the red side. Again, they all have the little red backing next to the tent, and you'll place them face up in the various circles here on the right side of the board. There's also a few different neutral heroes. They have this white border. You want to shuffle these up and draw a random one and place it in the gold circle. This can be unlocked later during combat. You then also want to choose a specific faction. So in this case, I've chosen the Amazon faction and the Amazon hero here. So you'll find your hero of choice you want to play as. You'll then go through all of the unit chips for that faction type. And then at this point, you're going to choose 6 unit chips that are non-elite or non-hero units from that faction. Set them up off to the side in your camp. You'll also choose 1 tactic chip from your faction. They have this little symbol on the back here. And the remaining chips from your faction can simply be set off to the side of the game. They won't be used. Again, make sure you have the health chips off to the side to start the game. Also, make sure you have the little crowd favor tracker. You can place this on any one of these red locations. The gold one can't be unlocked until you've already cleared these other ones here. Now again, the order of play is going to go for a Titan turn first, then your turn as the player, and then in some cases there's also an arena turn, which is really focused around arena units that might be summoned on a given Titan encounter. After this has been set up, I'll show you a bit more on the flow of the specific turns and how that works. And so to start off, you will start with the Titan turn first. That really begins with just deployment. This also only happens on the very first turn. And so you would start off by deploying the Monkey King here. Also want to look at the base card here as well with the heart symbol. That shows their starting health. In this case, they start with 5 health. And you'll also probably want to set out all of these dice that the Monkey King will be rolling on every turn. Now the first turn, when a Titan is summoned, they are dazed, meaning they can't take any actions or use any abilities. So then it'll basically go to the player's turn. Now on the player's turn, you'll be able to summon any of your units to the field except for your hero unit. They start off on this inactive side, the side that doesn't have any information like health and abilities, various things like that. So again, you will summon any one of your character units here. And when a unit is summoned on this arena in the solo mode, you can place them on one of the red summon locations because you're the red team. You also have this inner circle location. The downside here is you can't activate your attacks or skills in this area. And also keep in mind that only applies to your units. That negative effect does not affect the Titan. You also have the option to deploy from this center unit if it happened to be available. The downside here is that if you start your turn with a unit here, that unit would take 1 damage. Again, that does not apply. Again, that does not apply to the Titan unit, only your units. So again, let's say I just chose this one. It has 3 HP, so I'll just want to make sure to place those chips under it. Let's say I chose this spot. Another thing to understand is that your units come in dazed, just like the enemy, so I wouldn't be able to do any of the other action steps for this unit. However, its innate skills are active, so sometimes there's skills listed on your unit chips. And if you want more details on what those abilities do, simply refer to your unit skills little handout that comes with the game. This will show you what every single one of those does. Now again, it would switch back to the other player's turn. Now you can only deploy 1 unit per turn. And since it was my first turn, I would not be able to use any of the abilities of my heroes. So then it would move simply to the enemy turn. Now again, how this turn functions is you are going to roll all of the dice for the enemy unit. And you'll look at the dice, and any dice with a sword is considered a hit. Now basically what you need to do from here is you will go through top to bottom and activate abilities based on the number of hits that you got. And so in this case, I got a sword on the black and green, and so that would fall under the both hit. And so in this case, the Monkey King would use charge twice. And then an active shard within 2 hexes of the Monkey King flips to inactive and gains 2 HP. And so I'll need to look down and say, what is charge? I need to roll an arena die. Arena dies are just these dice with numbers on them. So in this case, I rolled a 1. And if I rolled a 1 to 3, the Monkey King would move 1 hex, and it moves towards the closest active shard. There aren't any, so it would move according to his priority list. Again, I look at the priority list here at the bottom. So it's going to go towards the weakest shard holder. None of those exist right now. Then it would target the hero. None of those exist. And then I would go to my weakest opponent. That does exist. So I would move 1 space towards them. Now again, it said I needed to do charge twice. I'll roll again. Again, refer back 1 to 3. So it's going to move 1 hex. Everything else will be the same as I last talked about. So it would move another hex towards that. From here, I'm going to move down and see how many blue dice I rolled a hit on. I actually rolled 0, so I wouldn't activate this section at all. From there, I'm going to go to this yellow section. And so I actually got 2 hits on the yellow section, and it says for each hit, the Monkey King would use Wallop. So I'm actually going to have to use Wallop twice. So I'll roll the arena die. I got a 6. So the Monkey King attacks 3 different targets within 3 hexes. The attacked units are fatigued until the end of the troop's next turn. So again, I'm going to move to the attack here. So I'd roll a green die, 2 blue die, and a yellow. and this would determine how much damage I would do. I got 2 swords. This guy is within 3 hexes, so it would actually take 2 damage and be down to 1 health. Unfortunately, I need to do wallop twice, so I need to use it again, rolling another die. In this case, I got a 1, so the Monkey King attacks an adjacent target. There are none on the board, so I actually lucked out there, and this unit will survive. Now that actually wraps up the Monkey King's turn. I've went through all the dice here, so I'd move back to the player's turn. Now, looking at the player's turn, again, I would start off with deployment, so I could put out another one of my characters here. So let's say I'm going to use this one. This has 5 HP. So now that unit's on the board. It is dazed, so I cannot use it at this time. I could move on to my tactic placement. How tactics work, I need to have one of the tactics available. And then I could use it on any elite unit that is adjacent to any of my characters at this time. This one is actually something I would equip on my own players because it's a beneficial thing. And it says this unit gains 2 HP. This one's almost dead, so I'm actually going to use that on this hero. And they will gain 2 HP. So I can just simply add that to him. Again, this tactic has been used, so I'll just set that off to the side, face down, indicating it's been used. From here, I can move on to movement. How movement works, you just look at that little green icon. That's how much movement your unit has. The orange is range. So again, I can look at moving 2 spaces. Now in this specific Titan battle, my goal is to knock out these shards first, and I need to do that before I can actually damage the Monkey King. So I would want to move closer to one of these shards, for example, and get within range. This unit's range is 1, as I mentioned. So now I'm within 1 space. Next, I can move on to the ability phase after moving all of my units. This character doesn't actually have any abilities I can use. Abilities would be indicated by a little yellow A listed on your chips. None of my units actually have this right now. So I can skip that phase, and then I can move on to the engage phase. Now, engage is basically attacking or using special abilities your characters might have. So I can look at this character and see that I do have a purple S here. That means it's a special ability, which I could do in this engage phase, or I can attack. In this case, I'm just going to attack. So I'll look at the dice listed here. So I've got a black, blue, and yellow. And so I would roll those to see how much damage I would do in attack in my range of 1. So again, I'm going to choose the shard. I'll do a black, blue, and a yellow. I can shake that. I did 2 damage. I got 2 swords here. So I do 2 damage to this, and it would actually move to the active side based on what's listed for this specific Titan that you're attacking. And the Monkey King actually has a bonus where any damage done to shards add that damage to its health. Now, another thing to note is in this arena, you earn crowd favor by dealing damage. So I did 2 damage, so I could actually move this crowd favor up 2. Again, when I hit the 5th spot, I could get this unit that's here and unlock the ability listed on this spot. Again, one of the spots here in this one is to activate your hero. So if I had done that and reached that point on this space, I could activate the hero, and now they become a unit I could place on the board. Again, didn't happen in this specific case, but that's how that part works. Again, this is really the flow of the turn and how it works. You'll just continue to go back and forth between players until your team defeats the Titan or you lose. Again, there's certainly some more intricate specific scenarios that might happen. I'm not going to dive into those rules in depth here, but this is the general idea and flow of the game and how it works. And so with that said, I'm going to jump into my review and go into a bit more on how I feel about the game. Well, again, now that you have a better idea on how the game works, how do I actually feel about it? Well, for me, I enjoyed this game. It focuses mostly on arena combat. It follows a lot of the same mechanics as the Hoplomachus Victorum board game, which is more of a arena combat meets RPG. And that game is more of a solo campaign, where this game focuses more on multiplayer. It still has solo elements to it, and the game really focuses around multiple different modes. Again, this consists of things like a skirmish mode, which is basically like player v player. There's an ascension mode where you're taking on a mighty titan. There's another mode where you'll face off against waves of immortals, trying to clear as many waves as you can. And then there's kind of an all-out skirmish mode where it's everyone versus everyone for 3 to 4 players. And so I like that there's a lot of different modes to this game. That certainly adds to the replay value. I really also think it's cool that there's all kinds of new characters to this game. Again, there's a lot of Primuses or heroes in the original game. They don't make a reappearance in this game, but there is a bunch of new ones. And if you get the different Pandora's expansions, that actually gives you the opportunity to use the heroes from this game in the original Hoplomachus Victorum game. And so I really like that aspect. Again, that does require some extra expansions for the game. I think that this version is a little bit easier to pick up and play and learn quickly. It has a lot of the same mechanics combat-wise to the original Hoplomachus Victorum. But again, this doesn't really have those RPG mechanics, which makes it a little bit easier to learn and a lot quicker play session for this game. I personally think I like those RPG elements a little better in Hoplomachus Victorum. I'm a little disappointed that this version doesn't have that aspect. But again, that kind of fits more of the solo mode of the game anyway. And there isn't really that solo campaign in Hoplomachus Remastered as there was in Victorum. But I do like that it adds the element of co-op play and competitive play, so you can have more players joining the action. I think my favorite mode was probably the Ascension mode, where you're taking on a massive titan. And again, there's a bunch of different options for that. I thought that was pretty fun playing co-op going through against these titans as well. But overall, I think if you're looking for a fun arena combat based game with some light RPG elements, focused more around tactical combat, I think you'll really enjoy this game. It continues the cool mythological theme from the Hoplomachus series and expands on that with new titans and a different batch of heroes from the various locations highlighted throughout the game. The components are really high quality. I love rolling all the different dice throughout combat, and maneuvering the chips around the board is very simple. And overall, I had a lot of fun with this game. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you played this game yet? Does it look like something you'll pick up now that you know a bit more about it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll also include a link to this game if you did want to pick up a copy. And again, if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button, as it really helps out the channel. And another really cool way you can help support the channel is we actually partnered with a company, Geek Crate, that puts together various bundles. So whether you like things like Harry Potter, Pokemon, Naruto, Marvel, and more, they've got different bundles for everything. They have a subscription service you can take advantage of, or buy just one-time bundle packs of various items. And so if you did want to check that out and help support the channel, head to nerdproblemsgaming.com/geekcrate, and you'll actually get 15% off your order and help support our channel at the same time. So if you want to take advantage of that cool discount, be sure to head there as well. And if you like videos like this on video games, board games, and everything nerdy, check out one of our other videos here. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.